Once you've set your measurements and increments for your rulers in InDesign, you're going to create a new document. So InDesign will pull up whatever you had for the last document you created in that. The only thing you need to change is the number of pages, the width, and the height. And the margins, because we're going to create our own margins since we're going to print at 13 by 19. So the width is going to be 19, 13, and then we're going to change these to 0. So hit 0, and if you hit tab, it'll change the rest of them to 0. Don't worry about columns, gutters, anything like that, because you're going to insert your text boxes yourself. So then once you've done that, hit OK. Now, I want you guys to get in the habit of saving your files at first. So File, Save As, Magazine, Spread. And as you can see, I already have one. I'm just going to replace it. Okay, so for this one, you don't have any margins or anything. For this, our spread's only going to be on this page. But if you had something, like if we were doing printing an 8.5 by 11, you would have 2 pages that look like this. So instead of messing with the master page, which that basically gives you a frame if you're printing on both sides, front and back, that would be something you would be using. But since we're only printing one side, then we're just going to stay with this first page. So, how to create guides. First, you need to make sure, I'm just going to maximize my screen all the way. First, you need to make sure that your increments are inches. And then it's pretty easy from there. I'm going to set up your margins, and then you will have to do the math to add your fee lines or your golden ratio lines that you're going to have. But once I tell you how to set up the guides, it'll be pretty easy to know how to do that. So, first guide I'm going to do is I'm going to set the middle of the paper so you guys can see where the 2 pages. So what you have to do is 0 by 19. This is the timeline I was talking about on the last class about the on the whiteboard. Think of it as like a number line, which is your ruler. If you zoom in, the ruler will change so you can see all the increments, but I like to see my whole page. So what is 19 divided by 2, which would be 9.5. So if you pull this out, you don't have to figure out where 9.5 is. Just let it go. Highlight this X, because it's on the X-axis, and put 9.5 in there and hit enter. It'll jump to that spot. So if you zoom out, that's your 2 pages. Granted, this is 13 height. So we're going to create, I'm going to do the next lines so you can see how the 8.5 by 11 or the 8.25 by 10.75 pages are going to look. So I'm going to do our first line this way. When I do that, my first line for it will be at 0.75 there. And then the last line will be at, you will put in all these numbers too, 18.25. Okay, so here is the first page right there. Here is the second page. Now I'm going to do the top and the bottom of the pages. So I just drag from the top ruler down and then plug in the number. The number will be, the first number is 1.125. Okay, so that's the top of the page. Then the second number is 11.875. Okay, so this right here, this is your left page of your spread. And that size in that square is 8.25, 8 1/4 this way by 10 3/4 this way. Same thing on the right page, 8 1/4 this way, 10 3/4 this way. Now I'm going to set your margins. This will be the same for everybody. So I've done the math already, so you input these numbers. So margins, I'm going to drag this one down. My next number is 1.625. I'm going to drag down another one and do 11.375. So those are my margins on top and bottom. Then I'm going to do the margins here in the middle on both sides and then on the right side. So the first margin is going to be 1.25. Okay. Second margin will be at 9. Third margin at 10. Again, if you start putting these numbers in and these don't look like squares, your numbers are off because it should be the same distance for all the margins. So then I'm going to do my last margin, which is 17.75. Okay, so there is my setup. This should look somewhat like your layout already, with except it has added lines. This is your document line. That's where your paper is cut. These are your margins right here. These two, and this one, and this one, this one, and that one. That's your margin lines. So now you need to do your golden ratio lines. I can't do that for you because everybody has different ones. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to add for horizontal lines this way. These, whatever number you have on your paper, you're going to add 1.125 to any of the guides that go like this. Any of your vertical guides this way, you're going to add 0.75 to those. This is how you create guides in InDesign.